something real and to have a good time. Put a smile on your face, yeah, can't be Cam and Elation Radio. Even brighten your day and help you through the night. Bring you good music, can't be Cam and Elation Radio. And here's your host, Kimmy Kim.
There's a war going on. There's a fight going on. I'm a soldier. I'm a soldier. Yeah, yeah. In the army of the...
Good evening to our viewers of the newly launched podcast on Elations Radio, Jadasa Live. We have an upcoming event for girls between the ages of 13 and 19. It is Intro to Entrepreneurship and Mobile App Development, where you get to create and launch your own app on any Android and iOS device. Register at www.jadasa.org right now because spaces are limited. Well, thank you again for tuning into the Jadasa Live podcast. I am your host, Cynthia R. Bennett. But before we get started, I would like to thank the owner of Elations Radio, Kimmy Kim, for all you do. I want to share a little bit about what we are doing. This podcast, Jadasa Live, is here to talk about issues, stories, resources, and ways to eradicate abuse of all kinds, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, financial, verbal, sexual, and neglect. There are many other kinds that I did not mention, but because I did not mention them by name, they still fall under the umbrella of eradication. And that is what we plan to do in the community. And this is done when we educate, edify, and empower. Also, we are having a summer workshop program that I want to reiterate again to teach girls between the ages of 12 and 19. I know the podcast says 13, but that was a mistake. It's 12 to 19, the basics of entrepreneurship and mobile app development. You will be able to create your own mobile app, market your product or service, and upload it to any Android or Apple device. This program will be held at our location in Ferguson, Missouri for 1 week between 10 and 12:30. After completing the workshop, you will be given a certificate and a gift card to apply to any technical device of your choosing. Now, that is a good deal. Seats are limited. Be sure to go to our website, www.jadasa.org, and register. Well, let's get back to what's at hand here, the eradication of abuse. That's first and foremost. Last week, I referenced how far back abuse has been recorded. I said it was longer than 100 years. I said it was more than 1,000 years. As a matter of fact, it was almost 3,000 years ago that this act has been recorded. And because I am talking about this is a community event. We're going to have a lot of people to come on to share stories, to give resources, to give advice. I just think I wanted to give for the first 2 or 3 radio broadcasts the history, the background, so everybody can understand that this spirit is diabolical and it's been around a long, long time. Last week we talked about a beautiful young lady by the name of Tamar in the Bible, how she had came under the hands of her brother who raped her, Amnon. And although it has been recorded that there were certain people who, by the name of their brothers and her family, they wasn't really there to help her. And we talk about that Tamar, what Tamar needed then is what victims still need now and today. And after any type of trauma, recognition, validation, and comfort. So maybe today you are existing, not really living like Tamar, because the Bible says she remained in her brother's house desolate. And so that means she was spiritually unmarried. She was untouched. She was void, and she was barren. She was not producing fruit. She was not producing whatever that was planted in her. It became null and void because of the result of trauma. So I want you to know that no matter the abuse, the trauma, or the neglect that has occurred in your life, God can heal and restore your brokenness today so that purpose can be fulfilled in your life. And so I kind of want to piggyback and bring it forward to, we talked about the story of Tamar, but I want to talk about cherishing victims in the hashtag Me Too era. These are stories of women experiencing rape and sexual abuse that cuts to our souls. Being female, many of us personally know women who have been domestic or sexually abused. We may have been abused ourselves. We may have been some of those people. And many have endured abuse as children. This violation is often compounded with the silence that accompanies the experience because of the shame attached to the victim. But I want to know, why is the shame attached to the victim and not the perpetrator or abuser? In contrast, we have an Old Testament story again about Tamar, a victim of abuse. Though her story talks about it, it's going to challenge some of us in our attitudes of how we pretend that abuse does not exist, and some even blame the victims. This is something that has been going on down through history, even as it is of today. So the poignant story of Tamar, the daughter of King David, who she trusted the 3 men in her life to protect her, but each had a hand in her desolation, whether knowingly or unbeknownst to them. How, you might ask, how did these 3 men, what 3 men are you talking about that had a hand in Tamar's desolation? Because we know she was raped. We know that she was sent to her brother's house. We know that the Bible said that she remained desolate in all her days. What 3 men are you talking about that had a hand in her desolation? Well, I'm glad you asked that, because the first one we all know, Amnon. He was the brother who raped her because he had an unsatiable desire to have his sister, and he did whatever he wanted to and did whatever he needed to get her in his grasp. And then we also had her dad. I know some of you are going to be like, wait a minute. King David, yes, King David. He had a hand in it because he neglected her. And also because he wasn't aware of what was going on as a father. And then we also have the other brother, Absalom. Yes, he took her in his house. Yes, she stayed with him. Yes, he named his daughter, but he also told her to be quiet. He silenced her. So these are the 3 men who had a hand in her desolation. Amnon raped her. King David neglected her. Absalom silenced her. You see, I want you to know, the viewers who are listening to the sound of my voice, rape is not the victim's fault. I want you to know that. Rape is not the victim's fault. Why is Tamar raped? Because she is beautiful. Because Amnon is unwilling to give up his obsession with her. She was raped because David is inattentive and can't read his son's motives or protect his daughter. I want you to know that before we go forward, there is on biblical record, the biblical record never suggests that Tamar is to be blamed in any way. Rather, Amnon alone aflamed in his feelings for her. What I want you to know is, when you have been violated, when someone has domestically abused you or sexually abused you, they own that. Do not take that ownership. Well, I wish I had did this. Maybe if I had done that. Maybe if I had said this. Maybe if I had went there. No, they own that abuse. Do not take it upon yourself. Since he, Amnon, was stronger than she, Tamar, he raped her. A physically, emotionally, and psychologically traumatic experience is recorded in half a sentence about that. It says, once Amnon raped Tamar, he in fact hated her more than he loved her and threw her out of his house. But even though all of this, Tamar tries to reason with him, saying that, you know what, sending her away is worse than the rape. She may have preferred a wedding rather than the humiliation of a public scandal and shunning. Amnon does not care that Tamar will pay the consequences of his actions. See, when a person has abused, they have no feelings. They do not care how it affects you. They do not care how it harms you. They have no sense or whereabout of what it does to you. Only their self-gratification is in front of them, and that's all they care about. Tamar is now no longer marriageable. Her rape guaranteed she would permanently remain a desolate woman. Sometimes the act can leave a person empty, desolate. It becomes a big void in a person's life that cannot be filled, where the person is grim and devastated. So don't be too quick to rush somebody to say, just get over it. You don't know what was taken out of them during that act that has to be restored. And you don't know how long it's going to take for the restoration to be completed. So don't be too quick to judge. Don't be too quick to get tired. Don't be too quick to say, what's taking them so long? They've been going through this. Their time frame, their healing is not on your time clock. People's reaction, including the attitudes of those who matter to us, can hurt and disappoint us. In this situation, David does not shine as a wise and fair father. Although furious with Amnon for raping Tamar, we have no record of David punishing or even reprimanding him. Did Tamar feel betrayed and abandoned by a powerful parent who was supposed to protect her, and we hope as a father would naturally expect to defend her? What am I saying? Parents, no matter how educated you are, no matter how high you have climbed on the corporate ladder, no matter your position or your status in the community or in the church, don't get so entangled and caught up in the affairs of what you're doing that you don't see the brokenness in your loved one. You don't see the brokenness in your child. You don't see the brokenness in your friend. They say success is determined about the happiness of your family, the happiness of loved ones. So you can be successful in those areas, but spiritually broken in another area. But God's intervention with Tamar occurred through an unexpected people. Sometimes you got to be careful. You don't know who God will send to a person. Although in this story, Tamar was broken and bruised and battered and hurt and rejected and dejected and mishandled and thrown away, all those negative things that comes when you have been violated. It was Absalom, the same Absalom who tried to take the throne of his father. But immediately after the rape, when Tamar was heartsick and bruised and hurt and disheveled, it was Absalom who had the heart of compassion to care for his sister. He does this even before David gets to hear what happened. For those that know your Bible, when he said, "Why is Tamar?" She did not come out in the court of the virgins. They say she went and rent her clothes and hid somewhere. He didn't even know what happened to his own child because he was caught up into the affairs of what he was doing. Sometimes the very one you is going to help you is the one that disappoints you. And the one you think that's not going to help will be the one that rises to the occasion. So don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge a person. You don't know. God will use who he will in any situation. The disappointing fact that those who often can help does not. It could be through no fault of their own. They are caught up with their own issues and status quo to the point they don't really see you. They don't see the hurt. They don't see the pain. They don't see the betrayal or the disappointment. Now, here we have David, a man after God's heart, the one who should have protected Tamar, the one who should have comforted Tamar, the one who should have defended Tamar, the one who is in leadership, who's in charge, who has the authority to act. Yet makes grave errors in judgment. Now we have a privileged but powerless girl's life that has been irrevocably changed. See, you can give your child or your loved one the best of education. You can give them the best cars. You can buy them the best designer clothes and take them on the vacations and the fancy trips and give them all of these material things. But if you can't see the brokenness on the inside, materialism cannot undo that damage. Sometimes the after effect can be just as damaging as the act. How you handle a person, how you judge a person, how you talk to a person, how you care and comfort the person can speed up or slow down the process to heal in order to move forward. The person who has suffered from domestic abuse and sexual violation are not people of diminished value. The Bible says even though Tamar lived a desolate life all her days, but Absalom still saw her value, her brother, because he named his child after her. And the Bible says she grew up to be a beautiful woman. I am talking about the history. I am giving you history so when we go forward, when we have these panels and we have these discussions and we have people that come in from the community to talk and to share, that you know that there is history behind this. Yes, that happened to you. Yes, you've been domestically abused. Yes, you've been sexually violated. You are still beautiful. You are still valuable. You are still smart. You are still witty. You are still desirable. And you are still worthy. That is for somebody tonight. That is somebody for somebody listening. We need as a people, we need as a community, we need as a village to move from shaming victims to cherishing. Because a girl's loss of virginity taken, whatsoever reason how it was taken, has been a cause of shame and social stigma. Yet far too often we have not thought of the personal cost that victims of abuse have borne, living with the consequences of the decisions and actions of others. Why? There are statistics behind this. In the United States, 1 in 4 women suffer from abuse, and 1 in 5 women have been raped in her lifetime. That's 20% that have been raped, 25% that has been abused. Domestic abuse, sexual abuse, and rape can physically and psychologically humiliate the victim, who bears both the private trauma of self-hatred, blame, depression, feelings of worthlessness and loss, as well as the public shame of friends and strangers not fully believing but having a tinge of doubt in their story, or being scrutinized about the way she looks. She has all the curves and all the things that's fitting in the right place. She can't help that. Or her hair, the way she curls her hair and wear her hair, or the clothes she wears, or her mannerism. I am here to tell you, don't take ownership in the blame. That is the abuser's blame. It's not what you did. It's not what you said. It's not how you look. It's not what you wore. It's not on you. It is on your abuser. When we refuse to see someone who has been abused, it renders the victim invisible. So how do we lift this veil of invisibility and stand with those who have been abused? Very recently, social media was awash with many women publicly acknowledging that they too have been victims of domestic and sexual abuse. and they were drawing strength from one another, recognizing that they are not alone. Sometimes all we need to offer, sometimes all we need for you is to present the ministry of presence. The ministry of presence is just simply being there. You don't have to always talk. You don't have to give your opinion, but just be there, present with me, whatever I'm dealing with. We need you to be there for them the way they need you to be, not how you want to be. Because if you are not helping me the way I need you, then you are not helping me. In fact, you're in the way. We need to be available for our friends so that he or she can share their story and get it off their chest. We can interact in a way that help her feel understood. Don't question, interrogate, don't judge, and don't ostracize. And by all means, don't tell them to keep the situation on the down low or suggest they keep quiet. Isn't that the same thing Absalom told Tamar when she went to his house? Yes, he took revenge on what was done to her, but it was her story to tell. And nobody can tell your story the way you can tell your story. So with those, we tell those who have been abused and misused to speak up and speak out. Open your mouth. What goes on in the house stays in the house, does not help, does not heal. But it keeps the dirty, dark secret hidden. Use your voice. Open your mouth. Because the devil, the enemy, wants you to stay quiet. He wants you to stay timid. He wants you to stay afraid. He wants you to stay scared. He wants you to stay bound and dark in that darkness, in that dark place. He wants you to not open your mouth to use your voice. Why? Because your voice has power to expose. Your voice has power to uncover. Your voice has power to change the narrative. So we need to help women who feel like they are voiceless and give them a voice. Speak up on their behalf. Advocate for them. Encourage them. Edify them and educate them. Educate them with the knowledge. Knowledge is power. Educate them about abuse. Educate them with resources. Educate them with encouragement. Educate them with stories of affirmation and validation and comfort. Educate them. We also need to edify them. Build them up. Let them know, yes, you can do it, can make it. You can go forward. And then encourage them to move and to go on so they can speak and help another person. We can also help them move forward to get on their feet. We can financially support projects. All of these things that we're going to be talking about at the Jadasa Live in eradicating abuse, all of these things are important. It's just not one thing. It's a plethora of things to help women move forward, to get on her feet. We can support projects to help them get to the road of recovery. Because today it's them, tomorrow it could be you. You see, abuse knows no boundaries. It does not discriminate. It does not care if you're black, you're white, you're rich, you're poor, you're educated or uneducated. It crosses all boundaries. And Jadasa is crossing all boundaries to fight it. We can even extend a symbolic gesture that helps the Tamars in our own circle to feel affirmed and valued. Invite them to be your regular coffee partner or your lunch companion. Invite them out. Have a girlfriend's outing for fun. Go explore some greenery at the park or the museum. Large or small gestures can signify to them that they matter, that we are not embarrassed to be associated with you, to be around you. We understand what you're going through. They are important in our lives because we want you to know, I want you to know, don't define my trauma. Don't define me by my trauma. I'm much bigger than that. I have more going for me than that, and so do you. And you have a lot to offer than your trauma. Whether we have never been abused in any shape, form, or fashion, or we've survived abuse ourselves, let's offer words of healing to those abused and bruised by sexual assault, by domestic assault, and say, this should not have happened to you. It is not your fault. I am here for you. This is a broadcast that we are doing weekly to eradicate abuse. I just feel, again, that we have to go back to the history because this is diabolical and it's been around a long time. This is your host, Cynthia R. Bennett, with Jadasa Live Podcast. We're going to be right here every Monday at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. You can also reach us at www.jadasa.org. Please be sure to friend us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and subscribe to the Jadasa Live YouTube channel. And, of course, come to the Elations radio broadcast. We are there. As you know, it is Jadasa 24/7, 365 days, all day, every day, with the hashtag Do Something Now. With that being said, I want you to be safe and good night.
Took me a while to get to this place. I'm so glad I made